everyone. Michael E. Parker here at COTV Live, and I want to welcome you to another show. And I told you we were going to have this show at a really critical time, focusing on a really critical subject, and that is let's get organized. Now, I know that when we think about that word organized, a lot of things come to mind. But we're going to kind of set the tone here tonight because, you know, we're in the beginning of the year. There's a lot going on, and we do need to think about this word organized and how we can use it as a competitive advantage in our life, in our business, things that we're dealing with at home. There's so many things that we need to focus on. And so as you can tell, I'm in a little bit of different setup here, and I actually have a very special guest, one of our coaches and scholars in URCO that you all know, Mr. Terry Fulton. I want to welcome him to the studio. And as you can see, we got the fireplace going here because this is a fireside chat here. Michael E. Parker and Terry Fulton. Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I like this kind of new set I got with the log burning, and you know, what better way to kick this off? I don't know if you can feel some of the heat.
Some clean s'mores.
Yeah, exactly. Some chestnuts. Huh? Well, I know. You know, when you think about all that we are dealing with right now, first, before we get into this topic of being organized, how would you describe how just the world feels right now? I mean, I know, you know, there was so much, and, you know, no pun intended, but you remember in the Bay Area, we have fires everywhere. The atmosphere was crazy. We couldn't go about. Then who would have known how the coronavirus came? Now there's so much unrest. How would you describe just how things feel right now?
Wow, that's loaded. Off-center, chaotic, a rhythm that's been disrupted, so a little offbeat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, the mood even could be a little bit of, you know, people are probably tired, you know, just pure exhaustion, but also just tired of one thing after the next thing after the next thing. And so people are probably needing to get their mind kind of level set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
right.
kind of just take a step back. It's just the climate of the world right now. We don't have to become victims of it. We
right.
don't have to participate. We're in it, but we don't have to participate with it. We can kind of take a step back and kind of get our mind focused a little bit so we could take our life forward. But I think that's what people are trying to work through. Yeah,
I really agree with you. And I feel like, too, it's, you know, when you look at a lot of the data out there, which I know you're familiar with, is just the amount of, you know, stress, mental health issues, every category that is not good in society is going up.
That's right.
Because people are just trying to figure out a way how to numb themselves, you know, to the things that are going on.
Right.
And I think that's one of the big things before we can even talk about getting organized. It's almost like, how do I move through the clutter that's in my mind to even think about my life, to even think about, you know, getting organized.
Sure.
So don't you feel that there's a lot of mental clutter right now?
Absolutely, absolutely. In a lot of different ways, right? Like, you know, people are furloughed or out of work, or people are working from home, but their kids are going to school at home, and, you know, you had a break when everybody would leave the house, and now everybody's at home all day long together. You got to communicate different. But I think there's a certain amount of acceptance we have to arrive at. Like, this is the world that we're in right now. It's not going away anytime soon. And so I have to learn to live in this climate, right? And so kind of taking control a little bit of the outcome that you want to see for yourself. Otherwise, you'll live in that chaotic space that you're talking about, in that cluttered space.
Right.
And that could be frustrating and stressful.
Yeah, no, very well said, very well said. And, you know, when you think about, before I can even think in a sense of being organized, I have to also maybe revisit my values a little bit, you know, just to touch on that before we go a little bit into that, is I have to revisit, what do I value? Because my values would determine what I feel is important enough to make the investment and thinking, how do I organize this better?
Right.
Because if I organize something, I'm trying to improve the performance of that thing or make that thing more effective or more efficient or more productive. But it's almost like we need a reassessment of values, you know, and I don't mean you have to go super deep or something necessarily spiritual or religious, but even just as an individual, what's important to me right now?
Right.
Don't you think that's a big part of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do that, or if you're not, you may have to rediscover your values,
Right.
even, you know, because your values are what we're supposed to build our life around. But when chaos happens, sometimes we can bury them.
Right.
And kind of just trying to survive and forget, no, I can still live and build my life around the values. I just have to recreate an environment in, you know, this new climate that we're in so I can still tend and meet to those values.
No, very good. And I think too, and I think you would agree with this, is that, you know, when you start thinking of a disaster or something's gonna hit your home, your family, you know, be it an earthquake or God forbid a tornado, a hurricane, whatever, you really get a very distinct moment of what you value the most coming to the forefront. You know what I mean? Like, out of all the stuff you acquired in life, you know, that new chair you bought, that new couch, that new, you know, electronic device or whatever you love. At that moment, if everything comes to a moment of crisis, you arrive at a different, you know, very quickly too. You have to assess what's most important to you. And it almost seems like we are, our mind is under attack right now of, you know, so many things that are hitting it. It's almost like a tsunami. It's like a hurricane. And you almost need to press through all that and say, now, in this moment of, in this climate of, you know, so much hitting me, what do I grab first? And what do I focus on?
I agree. And some of the fluff was taken away, right? I can't go to the games no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or for a while, I couldn't even watch them on TV.
Right.
And even now, you don't know. It might get canceled.
That's
because people in COVID, you know, protocol. And so, you know, or TV shows or different things like that. It's just, you know, things were taken away from us, but that's where you can rediscover the gold, right? So I've talked to some families where they've arrived at a very good point where it's like, you know what? We started to realize that our relationship, we weren't tending to each other enough. And now this forced us to sit down and rediscover how much we love one another.
That's
and things
good.
like that. Or, you know, I've now been able to spend more time with my son or my daughter and connect at a deeper level. These are people that have, you know, taken they could have done the same thing like other people. Like, I got to be teacher and psychologist and I'm going to wait. You know, they could have done that, but they didn't. They focused and said, you know what? I'm going to use this as value-added time for the things that are most important to me in my life. And they're the ones that are surviving the best in this environment.
I like that. And really, it's almost like the you know, the jewels and gems and things that were discovered through challenge. You know, so just like you have to apply, you know, you've got to dig to get to gold, or certain things that are underground, they're beneath the surface. Something has hit us that has taken us beneath the surface, and it allows us maybe to look at some things that we weren't focusing on, you know, and thinking about, man, I've been running so fast on this thing, you know, that has been going over and over, trying to deal with life, business, entrepreneurship, career, that, wow, I've not spent time with my wife or time with my husband or my son or my daughter or my mom or my dad or myself. And I think you're right that people are discovering, because when we think about getting organized, we are talking about some things related to this. This is a tone-setting show here, because there's a lot we're going to be talking about with getting organized. But, you know, one of the first things in getting organized is trying to remove the things that that are not needed, right? Because you don't want to organize things that you don't need.
Right.
So it seems like that through this time period we're in right now, it's giving us a chance to reevaluate not only what you value, but maybe what you don't value.
Right.
You know, what's not so important, what you thought was so critical. Well, now you can't do that. So are you going to go crazy? And next thing you know, you start doing something else. And you might find out, hey, there was a little bit more value in this than I thought. And I didn't know that I needed this, and my life needed this, or people are accomplishing things around their house that they always wanted to do. I know I have. I mean, you start pulling stuff out, and next thing you know, all this stuff you've been wanting to get to, you're getting to it. So there is a potential bright side to this.
It really is. It's perspective, right? It's just like a parent that hasn't been involved in their kids' education. Now you definitely
have to.
are now,
yeah, that's right.
And so you kind of get to reconnect with that. Or like you said, like my wife and I, we're looking at different projects in the house that we haven't had a chance to talk about in years. So now, not only are we're looking at things in the house and different projects, we're doing it together. And we're talking and we're spending time through that. Or the people in my house, you know, yesterday I got home, went for a 4.23 mile jog.
Nice.
Got back upstairs, and when I got home, here comes, you know, a young man that's living with me, and then his mom is also living with us. Then my wife came downstairs. Now we just found ourselves organically just talking and hanging out and spending time. You know, I wasn't doing that, you know, pre-COVID.
Right.
I was probably
exactly.
You know, doing stuff. So you kind of start to see what you can take advantage of. It's almost like the world has, in some instances, it's sped up, but in other instances, it's slowed down to where it's like giving us space, a moment to reevaluate what's important to us and rebuild our lives around that, not forget, not become short-sighted on what means most to us.
That's very, very well said. I really appreciate you sharing that, and I've seen similar things in my home as well, and I know others have too. And I was thinking about what you're talking about, slowing down, because you know, almost in every sport, athlete, martial arts, you name it, anyone that's operating at a peak performance will tell you that it seems like things are slowing down. I mean, it's like they're moving faster, but it doesn't feel like that when you're at peak performance. You know, whether that's a track runner or a basketball player or football, or like I mentioned about martial arts, in their mind, it's almost like things are slowing down, but they're actually performing higher. And so it's amazing that if we're wise right now, we can begin to see how to slow down to actually accomplish more. So when you think about that, what are some things that right now we should be thinking about that need to be organized? Now, that's a big question, but give me some things that you think right now we're dealing with that we need to organize.
Well, I think you need to identify like you say, your values or the main priorities, your big rocks. Right? And you got to kind of start there, and then you can kind of start to build around that. But I think it's a great time, since we're spending so much time at home, it is a great time to start looking for ways to, you know, reshape the environment at your house, physically, as well as even from a time management perspective, you know, when, you know, you're doing certain things around the house, and when you're operating certain areas. I think people also need to be careful with how they segment their home from an organization standpoint, because if you're not careful, for a lot of people, not everybody, work is home. And if you're not careful, you lose the element of I'm home and I'm always at work.
That's real.
Give yourself a designated place to work. Like for me, I will not work in my room. That is where I sleep. I'm not going to commingle those things because I don't want to go in there and feel like, all right, it's time to go to work. So things like that, I think you can begin to organize. I think you need to begin to organize your money. Especially there's a lot of people who are in a different financial situation, but it's a good time to sit down and look at your financial goals and the financial picture and different things that you may want to do when things begin to slowly shift back to normal. You know, I think you need to reevaluate and reinvent your relationships.
That's good.
I think that's another thing to organize around. So I've had a lot of really good, intimate Zoom calls, or FaceTimes, or those things are becoming more valuable right now.
That's right.
Versus, always running around, going from this city to this city, trying to, get together with so and so. I've actually been able to connect with more people during COVID because of technology, and so even. I think it's good now for some maybe personal development and some, whether that's hobbies or professional, to learn new things, get involved in new things, keep your mind fresh, discover things that, can make you feel good about every single day and waking up and having that purpose of participating in things that you enjoy. So those are just some things I think people can start to look at. Relationships, health.
Yeah.
Is another one too, a lot of cooking.
Yeah.
So the young man in my house, he's discovered how to make sushi. He's on this sushi thing right now. He's next level right now. Last night he looked at my wife, he said, "Would you like me to teach you how to make sushi?"
Is that right?
Yeah, a little swag.
Okay.
A little swag. She said, "No, I do not want to learn. I just want to eat it."
Yeah.
So, but he's learning new skills.
Yeah.
He's a college student. So just things like that you can begin to kind of reevaluate what life looks like right now and reorganize around the current climate.
Yeah, no, that's very good. And I appreciate you bringing those things up. And I think it's good for everyone to hear that, because we're going to be touching on different things.
Right.
And I really feel like this needs to be a series, because we need to take the time and kind of walk through, and I know when people hear organization, they have their perceptions of, I know I need to get organized. But we want to kind of approach this from a different angle and talk about some of the unique things that we're dealing with right now. And, we talk about sometimes when something is orderly or organized, we talk about a place for everything and everything in its place. But the key is, what is the everything?
That's right.
Right? So we know that there needs to be a place for it, and we know that things need to be in their place. But what is the everything for you and for me? What is that everything?
Right.
Because we don't really mean everything. Because if you try to do everything, you won't be able to do anything. So we have to begin to determine what is our everything that we're going to focus our time and attention on. And so that's something that I really feel like we have to start thinking about, and we have to have the courage to kind of, maybe have that everything list. What are the things that I feel is important for me, important enough for me to make time to be more organized about it, right? Because some things we might not go to the highest level of organization. It might be something that we want to make sure we do when we can, and sometimes that's okay. And then there's other things, it's got to be a little bit more discipline and a little bit more commitment to getting those things done. And so, speaking of that, when we talk about organization and we talk about understanding our everything, one thing that you and I both know very well is that none of this means anything if you don't make your mind up to do it, right? So we don't deal with the mind. Whenever you're, anything that takes time, effort, and control, a lot of times our mind will fight against that, because it's almost like it goes against our grain versus just taking things as they come, like just dealing with. So say a little bit about how the role you feel the mind plays in this whole thing, because I think the more we talk about getting organized, the more that something comes up like constraint or forcing me, and I don't want to feel like I have to. But if you don't deal with that, you'll never arrive at the state of being organized.
You're gonna feel pressure from one of two ways. You're gonna feel the pressure to get organized and be more efficient and live up to that, or you're gonna feel the pressure of all the stress that comes with being unorganized.
That's right, yeah.
And so it's just, there's more pressure with the stress of being unorganized, but that's the trick the mind plays on us. It always feels like I'll deal with it later, and it's always worse later. So organization, to take the sting out of it, like you said, we're not talking about being OCD, which I could be with my, how detailed, always know what time it is. Always. I know what time it is. I know how long things take. And it's pretty sick. But that's all right. That's what I need for my own comfort. So I'm not trying to say you got to get to that level. But you should be able to get your life or your mindset, your mental approach in a comfortable place to say there's a system that works for me and my household that allows us to meet the demands that are in our lives or to get everything in our jar. That's the big rocks, the pebbles, the sand, and the water. Right? And so to make sure that the most important things are done first, I like to call that my if nothing else list. If nothing else happens in my life, these things are going to be touched and tended to. So that's my everything. Right? And then I can start to say, well, here are some other things that are important. Here are some things that aren't that important, but I enjoy. And then here's stuff that's just frivolous, that if I have time, I'll take care of that too. And so if I'm able to get my mind just in a place where I have to prepare my mind to even become organized and develop a system that works, that's the key. Because I like how you talk about principles a lot. It's more important to understand principles than strategies a lot of the time, because you can always build your life around principles and they can adapt and adjust so your life doesn't feel so rigid. And as sick as I could be with time management, I still have a lot of flexibility so I can ebb and flow because things do come up.
No, very, very, very good what you shared. And one thing that, there's so much we can talk about here, but with the remaining time we have, I want to talk a little bit about the benefit of being organized. So sometimes we talk about organized, but we got to remember that organized is a means to an end. It's not really the end. So organization is really a tool for something greater. I want to be organized to have a life of less stress. I want to be organized to be able to be more productive with my time. I want to be organized to be able to have what I need when I need it, where I'm not always searching and looking and wondering about certain things. I want to be organized so that I can release some of the mental pressure of trying to remember things. If I know that is in a plan or on a schedule or in a particular rhythm that I've established, it allows me to let go of it. And I think that's very important. It's just the mental freedom that comes from being organized. And then there's also that feeling that you get even in a home, when things are clean or orderly, and even when things are disorderly, but it's going to be done on Friday. It does something to you, in your ability to rest, your ability to sleep, your ability to just decompress when you have something when the organization is a part of your life. So what would you say? I know I kind of covered a lot of different things there, but what comes to your mind when you think about the benefit of being organized?
Well, I think you went a layer deeper, right? So you're talking about the mental approach. Now you're talking about what's my relationship with being organized and what's my purpose? What's the whole goal of being organized? Because it creates a feeling, right? It creates, so I've never had the feeling of comfort and peace when things are disorganized. You know what I mean? So that's, like you said, looking for something, or I'm always running late, and that's stressful, right? So my feeling isn't, up to par. So if I'm organized because I have a means to an end, I understand why I'm creating this system, right? Now the way I feel about it, my approach is a lot easier. It's almost like trying to put your life on automatic to a certain extent, because you get into such a rhythm. It's kind of like running. You know what I mean? You go out and it's all about breathing and it's all about pace. And once you get in a rhythm, your body's still, going through the rigor of running, but you're in a rhythm. So you can go a little bit further and you can go a little bit, or imagine showing up to a game with no game plan. I mean, who doesn't practice? You know what I mean? And so we have to, that's all a part of organization. Or even, like we do a lot of workshops and things like that. Imagine never working on anything. You just show up. That's stressful. Well, that's how being disorganized is. If I don't have any system, I don't have any approach, I don't have any rhyme or reason to why I'm doing what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, I'm not gonna really reap the benefits that you're talking about. But once I start to get a system and I start to feel the experience of the reward of being organized, more time with the things that I enjoy, more times with the people that I love, more times to touch the most important things in my life. Now I'm starting to associate a different feeling that I have with being organized. I'm not stressed, it's actually very peaceful.
Yeah, very well said, Terry. I appreciate how you put that, because if we don't understand the reward, we won't do the work.
That's right.
And so that's why I think the people need to understand, why are you doing it? Because if you look at organization as a chore, then it'll never be something you want to do. But if you look at it as a means to the end you just described, well, now it's something worth it, you know. So this has been great, Terry. I just want to thank you, and I, I'm looking forward to some future shows we'll have. And I did talk to you offline about coming in and helping and facilitating some of this. And so all of you out there, you're going to hear some wonderful things about organization, getting organized. We're going to do this for some, a little bit of a series here. So go on this journey with us. We're going to have so much fun talking about some of these different areas, because, right now, we need to use organization as a tool, a constructive tool that can really help take our lives forward. So, Terry, again, I want to thank you for everything you shared on this show. I want to now jump into some specific things that I want to share with all of you that is up and coming. And so let me walk you through a few events. So there's a few events here that I want to share with you. We had our This Won't Break Me event on January 6th. I want to thank everyone who attended that. We have a special webinar on January 14th from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. Now, all of you who are success ambassadors out there, this really is a good webinar for you. I'm going to be going over all the principles of our URCL platform, everything to do with why people should be a part of what we're doing. So you'll hear the latest discussion surrounding that. And so I'll give you just a little bit more details on that in a minute if you're interested in attending that. Now, if you want to bring someone, you can, and tell them about it. They can also attend, but especially our success ambassadors, I recommend that you attend that and hear me talk about URCL, because it's almost like training for you. January 20th, we have our lean management workshop coming up. That'll be a workshop webinar, again, 12:30 to 1:30, and that is, again, an event that's free of charge. So again, that'll be hosted by Value Center Solutions, Inc., my consulting company, so make sure you're aware of that. February 17th, we're having another This Won't Break Me event, so make sure you mark your calendars for that. And then on March 17th, we're having a This Won't Break Me Summit, and we'll have more to tell you about that very soon. But for now, mark your calendars. So those of you interested in the January 14th, if you go to personalsuccessplatform.com, again, personalsuccessplatform.com, you'll see a page up there about our personal success platform. And I've added a little button under the video that you see there that says attend special webinar. If you click on that button, it'll take you to this page, and you can just register that you want to attend. And I'll make sure that a link is sent to you to tell you the details of the Zoom link where you can actually get access to this special webinar on Thursday. So please be advised about that. Go to the, again, personalsuccessplatform.com to get access. Click the button below the video, and you'll be able to take it, go here and register to attend. Now, again, I'll walk through all these events. Mark your calendars. Now, you probably guessed it, that our next show is Let's Get Organized Part 2. So we're going to get into some fun stuff. So make sure that you are prepared to attend this series. Bring your notepad, bring your mind, bring your issues, bring all that you're trying to balance. Bring it all with you. Don't even worry about it. We understand. We're going to have a great time. And so, Terry, why don't you close us out?
Between now and then, go out there and let the whole world know that you are a CEO.
Good night, everyone.